Ani Bojo, Kinawia, Norden Nin, Josh Lewis, Indigenous Cause, Wikwem Kong, Minawa, Naswakamak and Donjiba, Anishinaabe, King and Donji, Namedo Dem, Anishinaabe, Odawa and Dao, Kinoma again, Minawa, Shikabewis and Dao. So, hello everybody. My name is Norden. My English name is Josh Lewis. I'm from Wikwemikong First Nation, but I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario. I live here now on unceded, unsurrendered Algonquin territory. I'm part of the Sturgeon clan. I'm Anishinaabe, Odawa, and I also said that I'm an educator and a helper. And so that's some of the things that I do here in Ottawa. I am one of two Indigenous student support coordinators within the school board, the OCDSB, and my role is to support students. Right now during COVID, I've been doing these weekly videos just as another option to support students in their learning, and just to give some friendly reminders about Indigenous ways of being, I guess, through this time. And so that's kind of what my video is about today. I wanted to talk a bit about Indigenous wellness, but I wanted to speak from an Anishinaabe perspective. And I guess everyone's gonna have different teachings, so these are kind of the ones that I carry in my heart, and it's kind of the things that I've learned and have worked for me. And so you might learn other ways and do other things, and that's okay too, but I'm just sharing from my perspective. And so I've heard of this term. It's called Anishinaabe Kindasuin. It's kind of like an education system or a way of being, way of doing things. And so I wanted to use the medicine wheel today to talk a bit about that idea of well-being. And so for some of you, you might know the medicine wheel as this image or this logo or this symbol, and it talks a lot about the directions. It talks about different seasons, talks about the quadrants of like ourself, our life cycle, talks about medicines, it talks about animals. So there's a lot of teachings within this medicine wheel, and I'm not going to get into all of them today. I did want to share about the directions though. I think it's really important. So that's kind of always the starting point that I've learned with this medicine wheel, is that we need to honor the four directions all around us. And so we'll start off here in the east, the Wabanong, to honor that direction. Down here in the south is Xiaonong. Over here in the west, Hipingishmok. And in the north is Giwednong. And those are the four directions. And so you'll often hear those in our stories. And it's really important to honor them, because they're always present. So again, there's so many teachings within this medicine wheel. And I have this really cool tool here that I got from some folks in Nipissing, and it's actually a medicine wheel that talks about different plants and all the healing properties of them. So it's a really cool teaching tool. But I wanted to talk a bit about wellness from the perspective of the four directions and the four quadrants. And so oftentimes we'll hear folks talk about our mental health, our spiritual health, our emotional health, and our physical health. And in order to stay balanced, we need to work on all four of them in the same way. And so sometimes if we're just working on our mental health, for example, and we forget to take care of our physical self or our spiritual self, we'll start to notice that in our bodies, and we'll notice that in our spirits. So we really need to work on working on all four of them. And especially during this time of COVID, I know that things are kind of being thrown off just because we have to be inside, or we have to be socially distancing and things like that. So I feel like right now is a really important time to focus on wellness. So I just wanted to share a few things that I've been doing to help me get through COVID, to help me stay well. And I also want to invite young people to share things or to do things as well that work for you. And so again, this isn't just the only way, but it's just a way that I think could be helpful for some of you. And so I wanted to start off first with our physical health. And so I think it's really important in this time that we are active, So what are some things we could do? I think the most easiest thing we can do is go outside, go for a walk, Maybe it's around the block, maybe it's down a trail by our homes. But getting outside is really important right now. Maybe you have a bike, or maybe you in the winter time, you have snowshoes, or you have like skis and things like that. Getting outside is going to be really important, especially with the the winter coming up. And so really working on our physical health is going to be super important to our well-being. Even just doing a bit of chores around the house, moving around. If we're just constantly sitting around, if we're constantly just on our screens, it can really affect our physical health, right? So we really have to take care of ourselves in that way. And so it's definitely something that I also need to work on too. So again, I'm just maybe giving myself reminders here as well in this video, but I did want to share that. So physical health is super important. Maybe in your house you can, create like a little gym or a workout area where you can do like push-ups or sit-ups or whatever it may be. You have to really be creative in this time. So keep working on your physical self. The next quadrant, the next aspect I guess I wanted to talk about today was around emotional health. And so especially in this time of COVID, our emotions are all over the place. And I can agree with that, and I can also verify that. Some days I feel really happy, some days I feel really sad, some days I feel happy and sad. And I feel like that's our emotion right now. It's all over the place. And so I think it's really important that on good days, we ride with it and we try and have the best day we can. And on days when we're feeling sad, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, especially in this time. So really honor your emotions. If you're feeling upset, just let it be, and just it'll be okay eventually. But, if we're not acknowledging our emotions, it can make things a bit worse. So I think really just working on our emotional strength right now is super important. I think one way you can get through some of those really hard times is to talk to someone. Maybe you talk to your friend, or you can talk to someone like myself or someone in your school, or maybe it's in a chat line, or maybe it's on a phone call, but really just trying to talk with someone that might get what you're going through, or someone that can just be an open ear for you to share. I think letting out your emotions is really important. One thing that I do that helps me, and it's also linked to physical, I guess, but it's singing. So you could share a song, or you can just listen to music and sing along. Just letting that emotion really helps. So that emotional, working on that emotional part of your medicine wheel is super important right now. So I want to go to the next one. And the next one I wanted to talk a bit about is our mental health. And so our mental health, again, is linked to that emotional state as well. And so I think sometimes we forget to talk about how they're connected. But our mental health, basically, how we operate daily depends on how we're feeling as well. And so I think that, really honoring those emotions will help with our mental health, So if you are feeling really bad one day, maybe you know ways that you can help to work on that. So I think for me, one of the things that I've done through this pandemic is I've really taken the time to learn new things. And so not just on my phone, I do spend time on my phone swiping and checking stuff out, watching different videos, but I think one of the big things for me right now has been learning my Anishinaabe language. So reconnecting to that and reading stories. Books are a great tool right now. Even if you're not a big reader, there's some cool books out there that exist that might grab you in. Let's say you're not interested in reading Shakespeare, or reading a novel that doesn't really connect with you, but there are novels out there that are. And I just wanted to share a few of them with you right now. There's a book by Wabagija Grace called Moon of the Crested Snow. It's a great novel. Has a lot of references to culture, and but also has a really great dystopian narrative as well. So if you're interested in science fiction or thriller kind of vibes, it's a great book. Also, The Trail of Nanabojo. We're coming up to that time of winter where storytelling is super important in our culture, and so these stories of Nanabojo are really helpful. And for me, in this book specifically, it has Anishinaabe in it. So I could read that story and then also read it in the language, and it helps me learn. And so another book, yeah, again, the Trail and Anna Bojo. And another one that I've been working on, I guess reading through slowly, has been the Mishomos Book. And again, it's kind of an easy read, but it talks a lot about our old ways, and it gives reminders of them and how things used to be, but how they can also still continue as well. And so again, those are just some things that have been helping with my mental health. You know, when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling like overwhelmed, I read some of that, and it helps remind me that it's okay. I can take a breath, and I can just learn something new, and it'll kind of make me not think about that thing that was kind of bothering me. It'll bring kind of some, I don't know how to say that, but it'll bring some like goodness into my day, I guess, some new information, you know. So sometimes, you know, good news kind of helps with that, right? And so a lot of those books to me are like good news because I'm learning new stuff. And the last thing I want to share, and I don't want to keep this video under 10 minutes, usually I do, but I'm kind of sharing as much as I can here. But the last thing I want to share is around spiritual health. And for spiritual health, that's something that may be new for some students and families and teachers. But spiritual health is really important for Indigenous folks because it's like our connection to the land, it's our connection to our languages and our culture. And it's something that's really not given the time in school. And so to really work on your spiritual health, you have to do a little bit of that work outside of the school day, or maybe even outside of your daily routine. So one of the things that I do, and so for some of you, you may be able to do this at home, but I smudge. So I'll use sage or sweetgrass, and I'll burn it in my shell. And when I do that, it creates a smoke, and I just cleanse myself. It takes away some negative emotion, negative vibes that I may be feeling. And it doesn't take everything away, but it does help me kind of reconnect and ground myself in a good way. Another thing too is, I talked a bit about this earlier, but I find with like when we carry our drums and sing our songs, it's almost like it helps with all aspects of ourselves, because we're physically, you know, using our vocal cords to sing, we're sharing our emotion, you know, we're using our mental capacity to remember songs, and then we're also speaking to that spiritual level too with that drum. So for me, drumming has been another thing too that's been helping. And the last thing that I wanted to share today, and again, these are just things that I have been doing, is I'll be putting out my tobacco. And so I'm just going to share here with you. But this is tobacco that I use. And I know that tobacco is not accessible to everyone or even part of your culture. But for me, what I usually do with that tobacco is I put it down and I acknowledge the day. I acknowledge all the good things that I have going for me. I acknowledge all my friends and families, and just I just say miigwech, or thank you for the day. And so maybe you don't need to use tobacco, but if you have another way that you like to do that, maybe on your walk, you can just, you know, take a deep breath of fresh air and just say miigwech, or thank you. And just acknowledge existence, you know, because right now it's such a hard time, and we're overwhelmed by social media, and we're overwhelmed by our computer screens and information, and just a lot of scary stuff, you know. But if we really take time to acknowledge our existence, and just, it slows things down a little bit. And so again, I wanted to share how that's how you can work on that medicine wheel. And everyone has this within themselves. You know, we have to work on this to stay healthy. And you'll find if there's things that you're not working on, you may start feeling you know, worse. But the video here is about wellness, right? And so trying to balance all those 4 quadrants and realizing they're also interconnected is super cool. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Indigenous wellness from an Anishinaabe perspective. And I hope that you learned something. And you know, if you do have any other tips that you can help me out with, please feel free to you know, send me an email, or you can even send me a video response, whatever works for you. But I am here to support, and I hope you're doing well, and just try your best to you know, to stay safe and take care of yourself during this time. And hope to see you guys soon. So miigwech and bama peak wapman. Until next time, take care.